Saga, this is a master ceremonies, right?
No, Alex, but Alex is not using this.
His Excellency Dr. Mohammed Irfaan Ali, President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, Honorable Gail Teixeira, Minister of Governance, performing the duties of Prime Minister, Honorable Dr. Ashni Singh, Senior Minister in the Office of the President with responsibility for finance, Honorable Susan Rodriguez, Minister within the Ministry of Housing and Water, Dr. Armstrong Alexis, the Deputy Secretary General of CARICOM, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Dr. Gobe Nganga, Governor of the Bank of Guyana, Permanent Secretary and other senior government officials, Mr. Sukesh Nalal Pasha, the Chairman of the Bureau of Statistics, the Board of the Bureau of Statistics, and all the board members, management and staff of the Bureau of Statistics, students and residents of ECHOS, and later on I'll talk about why they get a shout out, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. We are very grateful that you are here today, especially those of you who got maybe your third or fourth invitation for this event. You know, when I considered the fact that we did send you that many invitations, I took comfort in the fact that every evening when I went home, I saw that NASA, that has done extraordinary things in human endeavor, couldn't get their rocket off. And if they couldn't get their rocket off, then, you know, us postponing an event is not a big deal. But we're really, really grateful that in spite of those challenges that you still persisted and have joined us today for what's a brief but significant event in activities that contribute to Guyana's development trajectory. So in that regard, I want to get us moving very quickly, and it's my pleasure, therefore, to invite the Chief Statistician and Census Officer of the Bureau of Statistics, Mr. Errol Cruz, to give us an overview of Census 2022. Errol.
His Excellency, President Dr. Mohammed Irfaan Ali, all protocols have been established. It is a distinct honor and privilege to welcome each and every one of you to this momentous occasion. It is a simple ceremony, but it has profound significance in that the census is the most important event in the statistical calendar of any country. The Honorable Minister of Finance officially declared Thursday, September 15, 2022, which is exactly 8 days away, to be Census Day in Guyana in this decade. This is because the census is only done every 10 years in Guyana. According to the United Nations Statistical Division, a population and housing census is a total process of collecting, compiling, evaluating, analyzing, and publishing, or otherwise disseminating demographic, economic, and social data pertaining at a specified time to all persons in a country. This definition outlines that the census is a most rigorous, expansive, and intensive exercise, and the preparations for this would have started years prior. In the information age, where data and statistics are crucial inputs to making better decisions, the census is the gold standard, since it provides the only complete and accurate measure of the entire population. The importance of the census cannot be emphasized enough. In the field of statistics, which utilizes quantitative tools and techniques to glean important information, effectively analyze, and make inferences about proportions of the population from a representative sample, the census sets that sample frame. And it allows data analysts and statisticians to be able to establish statistical levels of confidence. It is the cornerstone and foundation of good data and statistics. The vast importance of the census also relates to some fundamental needs of society, which are for leaders to know the numbers, location, and important characteristics of their people, for whom they are responsible and for whom they must provide. And also for persons and communities to be recognized and counted as important members of society and the wider population. It is difficult to imagine any successful society or community without a proper census. Census data is invaluable at any time. However, it takes on an even greater importance as Guyana currently undergoes a rapid transformation with enhanced economic and social development. Census data will inform numerous decisions and investments that will be made in the coming decade by the government, private sector, international organizations, and many others that will significantly impact development in our communities. This incredible value in census data goes beyond the population count. Census provides important information on demographic change, education levels, employment levels, and the size of the labor force.
Chairman of the board of the Central Housing and Planning Authority, to my immediate right, I have Sherwin Greaves, who is the CEO of the Central Housing and Planning Authority.
Sorry about that. As I was saying, the census also provides important data on the size and features of the housing stock, access to utilities, agricultural data, food security, and other important socio-economic characteristics. But even the most basic product, which is the true population count, is used as the benchmark and common denominator for assessing and tracking development. Metrics such as per capita income, per capita production, per capita anything, all rely on the population count, which comes from the census. On this note, I should note that Guyana's population at the last census, which was done in 2012, was 746,955 persons. And this is something I've been throwing out when I've been speaking to say, given all of the changes that we have been occurring, I ask, what do we think? What do you think the population of Guyana would be in 2022? And of course, the census will give us that answer. For this very important task, census takers will take to the fields on September 15th and will continue the enumeration process for about 8 weeks. These enumerators will spread out across Guyana on a mission to visit every building and household across this beautiful and majestic land of ours, to interview persons and take account of everyone who is present within the territorial boundaries of Guyana on Census Night. Census Night, for clarification, refers to the hours of darkness after midnight on September 14 until the morning of Census Day, September 15. I should note that account is also taken of those members of the household who may be outside the jurisdiction. This is to ensure that we have the most accurate population count and accompanying data. This census also marks the use of information and communication technology and advancement that would allow for the more timely and accurate compilation of census data. We are going to be taking electronic instruments out into the fields, enumerating, partnering with using cloud computing in order to ensure that there is the adequate dissemination and compilation of this data and statistics from the census. This exercise, of course, is expansive, and it is sometimes quite grueling. Enumerators work in the sun and rain across all terrains, rivers, paved roads, dirt roads, jungle trails, mountain passes, to provide the accurate population count and crucial associated data. And with this in mind, I wish to use this platform to encourage each and every one to support the census and our enumerators, ask for their identification cards and cooperate with them. Spare some of your valuable time to answer their questions truthfully and to the best of your ability. Remember that all personal information provided is protected by law and kept in the strictest confidence, and will only be used or shared in aggregated form. It is our patriotic duty to participate in the census, and it will ultimately be to the benefit of ourselves and our communities. I know that, like me, many of you are data aficionados, eagerly awaiting the results for the population count and so much more. I therefore call on us all to collaborate and cooperate for the success of the National Population, Housing and Census 2022. Thank you very much. We count in we.
Thank you very much. You've heard there from Errol Cruz, the Chief Statistician and Census Officer of the Bureau of Statistics. This is a Guyana census, but the census professionals in the Caribbean have always collaborated, and Guyana participates in its census cycle, collaborating with its partners around the CARICOM region. And so we are privileged to have with us today Dr. Armstrong Alexis. He's the Deputy Secretary General at CARICOM, and he's going to make some remarks at this time. Dr. Alexis.
Thank you very much, Mr. Master of Ceremonies, Your Excellency, the President of Guyana, Dr. Mohamed Irfaan Ali, Acting Prime Minister, my friend, Ms. Gail Teixeira, the Honorable Minister Ashni Singh, Member of Parliament and Senior Minister in the Office of the President with responsibility for finance, Minister Rodriguez, other officials of the Government of Guyana, members of the Diplomatic Corps, staff and directors, staff and members of the Bureau of Statistics of Guyana. I bid you a warm welcome. I greet you this morning on behalf of the Secretary General of the Caribbean Community, whose absence this morning is unavoidable. Dr. Barnett sends her fraternal regards and the best wishes for a successful event this morning. I am, however, pleased to be representing her at this auspicious event, the launch of the Guyana Population and Housing Census 2022. Excellency, the traditional census is said to be the most complex and massive peacetime exercise that a country can undertake. It represents a key pillar of data collection on the number and characteristics of the population of a country. Guided by the United Nations Statistical Commission principles and recommendations for population and housing censuses, the Population and Housing Census forms the basis for an integrated national statistical system of data collection across many areas of statistics. Census taking in CARICOM has long been noted for the use of a regionally coordinated approach, which is well established and proven strategy that provides for the use of uniform concepts and definitions and a common core of questions in support of the collection of high-quality comparable census data. The regionally coordinated approach also promotes technical cooperation and the sharing of census expertise and the facilities among member states of the Caribbean community, and in so doing, seeks to achieve the census results at a cost-effective manner. The CARICOM Regional Strategy for 2020 round of population and housing censuses was approved by the 38th meeting of the Council for Human and Social Development, the COSOD, in 2019. However, owing to the disruptions brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic, we have experienced some delays with the start of the fieldwork. I am happy to advise, however, that across the length and breadth of the Caribbean, enumerators are out in the field and the counting has started. The 2019 COSOD also provided the CARICOM resolution on the 2020 round of population and housing censuses, emphasizing the importance of the census and called on governments to provide adequate resources and urged the dissemination of the census results. The overall objectives of the Regional Census Strategy for 2020 census round is to provide support in enabling the availability of timely, high quality and comparable census data for planning and decision-making in the Caribbean region from the Population and Housing Census round of 2020. This is in keeping with the objectives of the Action Plan for Statistics in CARICOM, which has been endorsed by the Conference of Heads of Government. The action plan consists of specific actions to be undertaken by governments to enable improvements in the availability of statistics for evidence-based decision-making. The plan derives from the CARICOM Regional Strategy for Development of Statistics, which is also known as the RSDS, which has also been endorsed by the heads of government of CARICOM. The CARICOM RSDS is the overarching framework for the development of statistics in the region for the United Nations 2030 Development Agenda, with an overarching theme of building resilience of the Caribbean community. Ladies and gentlemen, the census organization is employed in the regionally coordinated approach, comprises a regional component and a national component. The regional component consists of the Regional Census Coordinating Committee. This coordinating mechanism is composed of the national census officers and/or their deputies in member states, associate member states, and other countries, and representatives from regional and international organizations. The RCCC reports to the Standing Committee on Caribbean Statisticians, and directors of statistics of member states chair the RCCC on a rotational basis. Guyana has been an active participant in and a dedicated contributor to the regional efforts, and I pause to compliment the officials of the Guyana Bureau of Statistics for their sterling engagement thus far. The CARICOM Secretariat has been charged with the mandate to facilitate this coordination, which entails organizing the support that is required across the region relative to capacity building, executing regional project activities, responding rapidly to emergency situations relative to census taking, monitoring the achievements of results, and helping countries in general where required with the census activities. As part of the regional coordination, the convening of the meetings of the Standing Committee of Caribbean Statisticians and the Regional Census Coordinating Committee is also a key element where countries are able to report on progress, share best practices, and engage in problem solving. The CARICOM Secretariat also collaborates with international development partners to support the conduct of the census and have achieved support, or have received support rather, to develop a project management framework for computer-assisted personal interviewing, the CAPI, in the 2020 round of the Population and Housing Census. We've also had support for a common approach to census mapping and a generic statistical business process model based on project management frameworks for the management of the Population and Housing Census. The Secretariat has also received support to upgrade its census e-portal to disseminate census data to users. We have launched a mapping geographic information systems, trained experts in the anonymization of census data, and in the validation of the data. The Secretariat has also advanced the communication and advocacy strategy, which includes the region-wide census launch in August of 2021. We've developed an online census facility, knowledge base and networking, trained personnel in disability statistics gathering, incorporate time use in the census, and also developed a module on COVID-19 for use by countries. And finally, the Secretariat has also provided ad hoc support and follow-up to the conduct of censuses in the respective member states. It is noteworthy that 2 member states conducted their enumeration in 2021. One of these countries has already produced its census report. Approximately 8 countries are or will be conducting the census enumeration this year, 2022. And furthermore, 5 countries are planning to conduct the enumeration in 2023, and 1 country has indicated that field operation will be undertaken in 2024. I welcome the progress that you have made in Guyana and urge every Guyanese, everyone, to cooperate with the National Statistical Office when its enumerators come to your door or when you are otherwise contacted, so that no one is left behind and everyone gets counted. I wish Guyana, the Bureau of Statistics, and every Guyanese a successful execution of this exercise, and I look forward to the data that it will provide. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Alexis, for that comprehensive overview of what's taking place in the region with respect to census. I did mention at the very beginning that we did invite you to the launch of the census multiple times, The first time we did that was to invite you to a launch that we expected would take place in the Eccles community. We had done some work to identify a new housing development that started within the last decade, and that was identified as the Eccles New Scheme. And we had put a lot of effort into preparing that venue for the launch, and then the rains came and washed us out. Most of us are old enough to deal with some rain and a washout. And if you've been a cricket fan in Guyana for years, you could deal with a washout. But it's not as easy for children. The children of Eccles had prepared a presentation to do in their community to welcome their heroes and to help launch the census. And we thought that the best thing that we could do to reward their efforts was to bring them here today. Even though we're not in the Eccles community, we wanted to give these young people from Eccles a chance to do their presentation for the president, which they looked forward to. So I want to invite now the children of Eccles to come and to present their acrostic. Please give them a round of applause. Well, they're coming. Like a father who I saw taking his child to school for the first day recently, there's some parents from Eccles here who are apparently a little more nervous than these children.
Our families have needs. I have needs. We all want our needs satisfied. S. Statistics. Because stats build a big picture so our leaders can classify all people, all buildings, all needs. This census provides us with stats to take us where we are going.
Youth united. Because we aspire to stay united, building one Guyana for a stronger nation. We invite all dreamers, every individual in every region.
United we remain through this census.
S. Support. Please support this census statement. Is we counting we, he, you, me, and she. Support this census and support our dreams. Let's take this nation where it needs to be.
We counting we.
Okay, we're uncertain as to what happened with the audio there, so I'll try to see if we could get that fixed, and then we'll give them a chance to do this. They work really hard, and we're going to see if we could find out upstairs what the challenge was there and give them a chance to do that again. But if you missed it, we should let you know as well that after the launch was rained out, we did actually record their presentation on video as well, and it's going to be appearing on TVs so that everyone will get a chance to see them. So we have done some work to really reward their efforts. While we work on getting those problems resolved, I want to invite the Deputy Census Officer, Vanessa Prophet, to give us a demonstration of what the census instrument will look like, as was mentioned by the Chief Statistician. In this round of the census, the enumerators who are going into the field are using digital instruments for the first time. We are accustomed to them going with paper instruments into the field. They're using digital instruments, and we're going to get a brief demonstration of that instrument now. Vanessa Prophet.
His Excellency President Dr. Mohammed Irfaan Ali, all protocols previously observed. Welcome to the 2022 Population and Housing Census launch, and I would like to ask everyone to give the children another round of applause for the excellent work they would have done. Thank you. My task this morning is to demonstrate to you the application that will be utilized for data collection for the 2022 Population and Housing Census. But before we undertake that journey, let me take you through a data collection process that we would have utilized from the 1980 census to show the instruments we would have utilized in the past. For 1980, we would have utilized paper questionnaires where persons would have extracted the information doing data entry. In 1991, we would have also utilized paper questionnaires, but we used a two-pronged approach for this census. It was both data entry as well as scanning. Now, the two-pronged approach was as a result of the scanner having to be shared among member states, as Dr. Alexis would have alluded. Census is a coordinated approach that is taken across the region. In 2022, we would have utilized scanning as well. So we would have utilized paper questionnaires as well. And this is what the 2002, Population and Housing Census questionnaires look like. This is the household questionnaire, and this is the individual questionnaire. And in 2012, we would also utilize paper questionnaire. In both censuses, we would have scanned the questionnaires to extract the data. This is what the household questionnaire looks like, and this is what the individual questionnaire looks like. Now we will go into the demonstration of what we will be utilizing for the 2022 census. And apparently we're having technical difficulties. For this census, we'll be utilizing the CAPI approach, which is the computer-assisted personal interview. Previous census, we utilized the PAPI approach, which is paper-assisted personal interview. So as the CS would have indicated, we will have our field personnel out there utilizing tablets to capture information from each and every household and its members. And as soon as we have things going, you'll see the application. The application that we're utilizing is a component of the ArcGIS software. It is the Survey 123 application. This application will allow us to demonstrate our data collection tools in 3 components. Our visitation record, which captures building information, as well as geographical information and some information on the household. Boy, this morning we're having a lot of technical difficulties. I don't think they want to see me, they want to see the application. Yes, so I'll take you through still. So the application will be on tablets, And persons will be in the field. They will be collecting information on, for example, if the enumerators are in Region 4, they will select Region 4. If they're in the township of Georgetown, they will select Georgetown. And the village they may be working in, if they are working, say, in Bel Air or Keitty or Camberville. So we're back up and running again. So as I was indicating, this is the application that we'll be utilizing. So you can see if you are working in Region 4, select Region 4, Township of Georgetown, village number, the village. Say they're working in South Comminsburg. And the ED that you see there is the enumeration district. That is for our internal purposes. We would have broken the country down to a small geographical area to be able to capture the information. And since it's Georgetown, it's classified as urban. And each building must have a number. So I'll randomly select 5. And if you're looking to, if we're capturing information on residential, you select occupied, the type of building, residential. And since it is residential, it is expected to have a dwelling unit number, and a dwelling unit number can be the same as a building number, and a household number, which can also be the same as a dwelling unit number. And you enter the name of the head of the household. So say, for example, the head of the household name is Doe John. So you enter the first name, surname first, and then the first name second. And the address, let's say it's 34 Main Street. Forgive my spelling. And the telephone number, 623-7898. Email address, while we'd like to capture email address, if it is not available, it's not applicable. Now, this is the information you capture on the number of persons within the household. So let's say we have 1 male, 1 female. So you have 2 records generated showing that there are 2 persons within the household. And the head of the household is entered first, and we would have established the person's name is John Doe. So the same order. Sorry. Doe first and then John. The sex of the head of the household, male, and the status on census night, resident present. Since there are 2 persons, the next record has to be entered. Let's say it's his spouse, Mary Doe, female, and resident present as well. So we have records for 2 persons. Also, there will be the household questionnaire, which will capture household information. So the first thing will be the sex of the head of the household, and this must correlate with the information that was previously entered. So male, if the head of the household, the type of building is residential, materials on the outer wall, wood or concrete, materials on the roofing. So this questionnaire will be capturing information on the characteristics of the household, as well as information as it relates to living conditions, information on bedrooms, toilet facilities, bathroom facilities, as well as occupancy. The third instrument is the individual questionnaire. However, for there to be able to access the individual questionnaire, information must be entered on the members of the household. So as you would see, the first question, P1.1, what is those relationship to the head of the household? So it's indicating the surname there. So the relationship to the head of the household. So the first person we would have entered was the head, select head, male, and this information must correspond with the previous documents, the date of birth, at which stage you entered. We didn't put any information there, but you have to select the year, month, and date in that order to be able to get date of birth, and the age is calculated, as well as the ethnicity. And for the first time, we have included a question on language, which will allow us to capture information on indigenous people, as well as the number of foreign nationals that we have in the country. There's also information to be captured on disability, education, occupation, and other areas of interest. This information will be shared further with the public so they have a sense of the type of information that will be collected for the census. With this, my presentation comes to an end, and I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Vanessa, for the demonstration of the instrument that would be used for collecting the census data. My usual go-to position at a time like this is to play it safe, given how many things have not worked for the morning. But I want to be brave and try one more thing. When we're doing the public education activities in the field, one of the things we are employing is street theater, especially in marketplaces and other places where I did say that I didn't want to go on, that I told the guys just now at the back that I was going to leave the building, but they persuaded me to stay and that nothing else would happen. Okay, so. Okay, everybody just stay like this, all right? Don't touch anything, no switches, no buttons. Okay, cool. So I was saying that we employ street theater in places where members of the public are gathered, marketplaces, boat landings, stellings, and places like that. And so we wanted to share some of the street theater activity with you this morning, and we have one piece. And so I'd like to invite our team of actors to present that now. This bunch could speak without microphones, so if they fail, I know you will still hear.
Cheryl, I mess up bad this time, Cheryl. Gotta lock back this door, lock up the window. Oh God, Cheryl, he following me right now. Oh God, he coming, he coming. No, you can't call the police, God. Listen, don't vex with me, man. But, listen, I didn't pay my court's bill in a while, and now court's coming and it's jail. I can get jail here today. Oh, God, look at me. Look at me, Cheryl. Me and Meg for going jail like that. You ain't know nothing about courts and owing courts and... What? Let me have 10,000, quick. 10,000. No, nobody in their home. Listen, you never see me, and you ain't know me from nowhere, right? Talk easy, no man. And watch. Remember the 10,000.
I'm from the Bureau of Statistics. Hi, yes, ma'am. I'm a census taker. I'm just going around the area counting people for this year's census.
Okay. Sir, please don't call the police on me.
The police? Why?
Listen, I had no idea the courts to send people till on the back here in this village. But here,
No,
don't
but
worry. Don't worry. Me and she, we can get a little 10,000, and you could just disappear.
Marlo.
Give you the money now.
Marlo, this man is from the Bureau of Statistics.
What?
He's working on the census.
Census?
Yes, I'm not from courts. You see? Do you live here, Miss Mala?
I live here.
Do you mind if I ask you a few questions?
Yeah, man, y'all come in.
All right.
I didn't want much of it. I don't hear enough about it on the radio, you know?
Sir, yeah, let's just like dress up and go around in this hot sun for count women in the census.
We're not just counting women, we're counting everybody. And counting people could be hard work, but rain or sun, the job must be done.
Oh, so you want to count me too?
As I was saying, I'm in the area doing a housing and population census because we want to smartly plan for the persons of this community. So could I start with you, Ms. Cheryl? Yes, sure. So, I am very happy. What's your name?
And me name Mala, sir. Mala Ramnarine. R-A.
It's all right. I could spell Ramnarine. But I'm interviewing one person at a time. Okay, so let me finish with Miss Cheryl and I'll come over to you. I'm sure you're Mala, right?
All right, I'm going to wait.
Don't interrupt. Yes, Miss Cheryl, could you tell me your date of birth?
The 12th of July, 1989.
Cheryl, don't lie.
1987.
Tell him man the truth.
All right, the truth is 1985.
You plan to tell the truth, that's what you said, and nothing but the truth. All right, 1980. And the two of you live in this house alone?
Sir, this woman and I are friends. What sort of questions you asking?
Marlo, sir, I live here with my husband and my son.
Okay. And sex?
Sir, you getting too personal now. This woman ain't just tell you she live with your husband and your son. Plus, how you gonna be talking about sex like that?
Marlo, I think she means whether I'm male or female.
Thank you very much.
But he see you as a woman?
I know it's just formality questions. Thank you. Just moving on. Could you tell me your ethnicity and religious affiliation?
You're getting a little too personal now.
Ma'am, I'm asking these questions because I'm trying to find out more about you. The objective of the census is also to find out about our citizens.
Yeah, but people don't like talk about race and religion and things like that.
Yeah. Next thing you gonna want to ask me is who I vote for.
Ma'am, I'm not going to ask you who you vote for because I'm not questioning you right now, Miss Marla. Please don't interrupt me again. Thank you.
Right.
I thought you said you just counting we man.
Ladies, think of the census not only as counting people, but it's also understanding who our citizens are, understanding who everyone is and how they're living in their communities. Well, we have persons in all 10 administrative regions. We have census takers in region 1 to 10, and they're asking the same questions I'm asking. So it's basically We counting we.
We counting we?
Yes, us census takers counting persons just like ourselves. So just like that, we're counting His Excellency, we're counting the person at the market, we're counting the lady selling sugar cane, we're counting everybody in our country.
Okay, so this census thing is not just about counting people.
No, as I said, it's understanding who our citizens are. We're understanding who everyone is and how they're living in their communities. And when we understand who everybody is, then we'll know what are the needs of the communities. If they need roads, shopping malls, health center, or if young people need job training and all kind of things.
Oh. So how much questions you want both we answer?
Well, as you can see, our forms are filled out digitally, and we have our individual questionnaires, and we have our, stop fighting, household questionnaires. And we ask basic questions about about your family, your job, how you dispose of your garbage, and so on.
Wow, let me see.
Yes.
Oh.
Everything is there digitally. See? And I must tell you, the census is not just about counting humans or counting people. We also count buildings.
Counting buildings, Marlo, this man selling people dreams.
No. I may have you know that this is our 6th census cycle post-independence. And each cycle is 10 years. So we've been doing this for approximately 60 years. So I'm not selling you dreams, I'm telling you the facts.
You know, mister, we don't like when men is light away, you know.
Yeah, we don't like that.
We don't like that.
I mean, too sure whether the information is going to the wrong hand.
Yeah. How we know y'all planning something against you, yeah?
Exactly.
How?
No.
Ladies, listen. The only hands this information going in is the hands of the persons helping to build our future. And with this census, the future is now.
Gerald, girl, this man got a lot of sweet words.
He does.
And that, ladies, is how we move to national development. You see, once we would have gathered this information, you will see changes in our communities, building of roads, health centers, and everything else, once we have the information from the census.
Okay. All right, you got me thinking now. All right, I am
Good.
And I just like me a man that could explain big information clearly.
Marlo,
What happened now?
sir, can I start over?
No problem.
Wait. The man don't count you, he got count me too.
I left the man alone.
But he got count me too.
Miss Marla, it's all right. It's we counting. We say everybody will be counted. Let me finish with Miss Cheryl and I'll come right over by you. I promise.
But y'all look like y'all gonna take long, man. All right, man, listen. I going home and I gonna cook a nice hot grass curry by the time, because y'all might get hungry and I might get hungry too. Right?
All right.
Make sure you come count me, you know.
I'll come in.
I'll call you back, all right?
All right, Marlo, see you.
She's quite a character.
Yes, she is.
So we finished with the names. We finished with the.
Oh God, Cheryl! Courts come for real this time.
Thank you very much to our team. I won't. Okay, so I think we got safely through that and things seem to be getting better. We're now moving to another address. And when Vanessa Prophet came up to demonstrate the census instrument, one of the things you might have recognized is that Vanessa has been the veteran of a census or two and has a wealth of knowledge and experience doing this. It's not usual that other kinds of public officials tend to get involved from one census to the next. Our next speaker, the Honorable Dr. Ashwini Singh, who is the Senior Minister in the Office of the President with responsibility for finance, is one of those elected officials who has the unique position of being responsible from one census cycle to the next. In 2012, Dr. Ashwini Singh was Minister of Finance and did participate in the launch of that census, a completely different affair to the one we have today, but he's privileged to be at the helm of the ministry 10 years later when we're doing this census cycle. He himself, therefore, is a veteran of the census with perspectives and experience that would certainly be useful to the census and to Guyana. It's my privilege to invite Dr. Ashni Singh to the podium.
I'm not sure if the placement of this platform was intended to signal anything in particular. I don't know if you're measuring people's height as well in this census, but I think I'll manage without you. Okay. Thank you. Your Excellency, I can see you're restraining your laughter at my expense and at the expense of this platform. But Your Excellency President Ali, Acting Prime Minister Gail Teixeira, my Cabinet colleague, Minister Susan Rodriguez, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Governor of the Central Bank, Chairman, directors, Chief Statistician, and management and staff of the Statistics Bureau. Ladies and gentlemen, and of course, most importantly, boys and girls, let me first of all say how very pleased I am to be able to participate in this, as Alex pointed out, my second census launching ceremony. And let me add my own voice to those who have spoken before on, including Deputy Secretary General CARICOM. Let me add my own voice to all those who have spoken before in saying how, and in reiterating how important and significant an occasion this is. And I want, even before I speak about the census itself, I want very briefly to reflect on some of the developments that are taking place around us today that we might perhaps take for granted if we didn't reflect on how these developments came about. And the developments to which I refer are those that reflect the incredible transformation that is already underway in our country since President Ali assumed office. And I could give you a long list of these developments if I were to focus only on a couple of them, the infrastructural developments that are taking place. I could give you the example of the new Ogle to Eccles Road. Just a few days ago, we saw a remarkable video showing the alignment of that road being cleared and the foundational works being done for that new road. I could give you the example of the Mandela to Eccles Road and the extension of that road, which is also underway, which will lead all the way to Diamond. I could give you the example of all of the new highways that are being constructed on the east bank of Demerara. I could give you the example of the new highways that are being built in West Demerara. In fact, I believe as we were meeting here today, as another ceremony was taking place, the signing of contracts associated with the Crane to Sconard roads, and the list would go on. And like I said, it would be easy to believe. I could give you also the examples of the new housing schemes that are being developed throughout the length and breadth of our country. His Excellency, The President just a few days ago came back from Region 9, where he announced a new housing development in Region 9, in Letham in particular. And like I said, I could give you a list that would keep us here for the rest of the day. And it would be easy to make the mistake, and it would be a grave mistake, to think that these developments are happening randomly or by accident or by chance. But that, in fact, if one were to think that these developments were disjointed pieces, things that were happening by accident, one would be making, in fact, a very grave mistake. Because while Alex mentioned the fact that I've had the privilege of participating in a previous census launch, I've also had the privilege of serving in the cabinet previously during the pre-2015 People's Progressive Party civic government, successive People's Progressive Party civic governments. And I can say to you that many of the developments, indeed all of the developments that you are seeing today, are in fact the results of years of careful planning and analysis that went into the mapping out of a comprehensive development path for our country that involved identification of where the new and emerging economic opportunities lie, where new and emerging economic activities will manifest themselves, where the new major demographic trends will take place, where the new and emerging demand for social services will arise. Careful study and thought went into all of these developments that you are seeing today. You might ask yourself, so Diamond Grove housing scheme was Eccles and Diamond Grove housing schemes were developed many years ago. You might ask yourself, how is it that reserves and space were kept for the development of this new 4-lane highway that is being built? You might ask yourself, was this luck? Was this perhaps that somebody didn't decide that an alternative use was needed for this land? And let me say to you that nobody in Guyana today knows better how these various pieces came together than His Excellency the President. Having served as Minister of Housing himself, having played an integral role in the remarkable housing program that has already had such tremendous impact in our country, I know President Ali might or might not speak about it himself when he speaks with you in a few minutes. But I know, and Your Excellency, with your permission, I would disclose that the identification of future major population centers and what that will mean for infrastructure, the need for a new 4-lane road on the East Bank was something that the President, as Minister of Housing, was integrally involved in. It's not an accident that there is now space earmarked that we can build multiple new highways along the East Bank. This was the result of careful analysis and planning, at the center of which was His Excellency the President as Minister of Housing. Using at the time data that would have been generated by previous censuses and other data that we would have had at our disposal, like I said, knowing and projecting where the new economic activity will be emerging, looking at the demographic, the disaggregated demography of our country. The school-going population of the next cohort of the school-going population will be the children of the young adults of today. The largest, the working population of tomorrow will be the school-going population of today, these young people. They today are the school-going population. In the short space of 15 years, they will form the core of the labor force. And we as a government have been careful and painstaking in analyzing the distribution of the population today and what we anticipate will be the future trends in the distribution of the population going forward. And having done that, not for 1 year or for 2 years, having done that throughout the time that we have spent in office, let me say unequivocally that there is no exercise of comparable importance today than Census 2022. Because Census 2022 will allow us to accumulate a comprehensive snapshot of our country, of our population, of our building and housing stock, etc. As at Census Day, or Census Night, the 15th of September, which will then form the basis of analysis that will determine policies that will literally shape the face of our country for generations to come. And so this is not, by any measure, a trivial exercise. And particularly given the incredibly exciting changes that are happening in our country today, new and emerging industries, new and emerging job types, new and emerging skills that people need for the place of work. This census, notwithstanding that it comes in the automatic 10-year cycle, within the 10-year CARICOM cycle, has special significance because it comes at a time when our country is going through an historic and an unprecedented transformation. The face of our country is changing before our eyes. New housing areas are going up as we speak. New major industrial and commercial centers are going up as we speak. And we are doing the census. We're doing Census 2022 in the midst of all of these incredibly exciting developments. Much has already been said about how incredibly exciting this period is. The results of Census 2022 will form the baseline. 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, when the transformation would be well advanced and the results of the transformation will be visible for all to see. It is the 2022 census that policymakers, analysts, and historians will look back at as the baseline that existed when this transformation was commenced. And so I want to reiterate the incredible importance of this exercise. The data that you gather Obviously, and the census report that you will produce will, of course, be huge outputs in their own right. But the truth is that the data that you will be gathering in the census reports and analyses that you'll be producing are really only a means to a much bigger end. And that much bigger end is better informed policy making for the future, better informed decisions for the future. And that's the real result of Census 2022. To those who will be involved in the census, I want to say to you that you're undertaking a monumental task. The DSG, the CARICOM DSG, described censuses as the largest peacetime undertaking. You're undertaking a massive exercise, an exercise without comparison. It's going to be large and complex in its own right. It will require all sorts of skills, technical, statistical, analytical, but also, as you saw, was it Cheryl and Marla? As you saw from Cheryl and Marla just now, your enumerators will need to have even softer skills. Skills to ensure that they're able to interact with every single household in every single community and engage with them and complete the questionnaire in a comprehensive manner. I urge you to ensure that the census is completed diligently, that every single building and household is visited, and that every single person is counted. I urge you to ensure that the new questionnaire is completed in its fullness. And I should mention, Your Excellency will be pleased to know, I know he's already aware, but let me reiterate that the new census includes new questions and modules, including questions in relation to food security. And those are extremely important and relevant questions today. And so what we have is an expanded questionnaire. Your Excellency, you would recall this. We have an expanded questionnaire that now includes a special module on food security, which is being completed for the first time. A particularly important module given how important food security is in Guyana, but also given the important role that Guyana is playing regionally and globally, led by President Ali, on the question of food security. We will now have baseline data on food security for the first time. So I urge you, Chief Statistician and your team, Deputy Census Officer, I urge you to be diligent in ensuring comprehensive completion of the census, timely compilation and analysis of the data, and timely completion of the report. And finally, speaking through the medium of the cameras that are present today, I urge my Guyanese brothers and sisters to participate and cooperate and participate fully in the census. This is not an intrusive exercise. I actually think that dramatic presentation was extremely important because it illustrates people might have a concern about why you're asking questions about the sanitary facilities in their home, or why you're asking them about their access to food and nutritious food. And indeed, it's understandable, but some people might feel these questions are intrusive. And I want to say to my Guyanese brothers and sisters who are listening to this, that the census is intended to gather, in a quick snapshot, a comprehensive picture of the state of play in Guyana across the entire country. I appeal to you to cooperate fully so that we can get as comprehensive a picture as possible, so that we, your government, under the leadership of the President, can make the best informed policies aimed at meeting the needs that are most important to you. And I believe N was for needs in census. So thank you very much, Chief Statistician, for arranging this event. Your Excellency, thank you very much for gracing the event with your presence. And I want to say, finally, that the presence and participation of the President himself in this event today is a signal of the importance that his government, our government, that your government places on Census 2022. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ashni Singh. I assure you that the original design of the platform was not for you, but someone got overly enthusiastic. Being vertically challenged himself, it's no surprise to me. Well, thank you very much for your remarks, Minister Singh. I want to especially thank you for acknowledging the children and for actually hearing that N was for needs. The person who had N was particularly taken aback when you made reference to them. I must tell you, though, that when you said that they're going to be the working people of 15 years from now, there's one guy there who was traumatized by that. I think he thinks that life was going to be all play, and suddenly there's this guy who's telling him that one of these days he'll have to work. So you have some work to do with them when we're done. Thank you very, very much for engaging that way. Just before our keynote address, we want to take one more risk of having one more activity that requires some technology to work and for things to come together. Among the things we do in the campaign is that we usually have a jingle that we try to use to get people familiar with some of the content of the campaign. And this year, the jingle is performed by Kush, who is particularly popular at the moment. And he is going to perform the jingle. I'm taking a big risk. I don't see him. I hope the microphones will work. Oh, he's here. Okay, cool. I can relax. Kush.
Say na na na. Say we counting we. Yeah, we counting we. From region 1 to region 10, the whole country. Yeah, we counting we. Say we counting we. All ethnicity and everyone in the country. We counting. Say it's all about accountability. And all of us has a responsibility to count your relatives, count your friends and family. We counting you and you counting we. So if you don't count, numbers won't make up. And it's all about the 22 census. If you don't count, numbers won't make up. And it's all about it. So we counting we. Yeah, we counting we. From region 1 to region 10, the whole country. Yeah, we counting we. So we counting we. From region 1 to region 10, the whole country. We counting. Thank you.
If you stay after the main presentation, you're going to get a little more of Kush. So I want you to stay with us. I just have one task to do, which is to draw your attention to some comments made by our President, His Excellency Dr. Muhammad Irfaan Ali, a few months ago in a completely different context. But in that context, he made reference to the size of Guyana's population. And I quote, I'm quoting this for you, for those of you who have the official speech will not have the off-the-cuff remarks that he made. But he said, yes, we have a small population, but importantly, a growing population, but it requires much more work from people like me, referring to himself. One guy has gone to school, so I'm expecting that this work is taking place. The results of that work might not be counted in this census, but 10 years from now. So I just thought I should remind him that his public commitment to do the work necessary to contribute to the growing population in Guyana. The vice president isn't here, so I don't want to go on because he did call out the vice president and challenge him to make a contribution as well. But I don't like to talk about people in their absence. I prefer to talk about them in their presence. So with having given that to you, it's certainly my privilege and delight to leverage the comments made by Dr. Ashni Singh and invite His Excellency Dr. Muhammad Irfaan Ali to address us this morning.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, please, very kindly. This man never failed to amaze me. It's very strategic in the comments he keeps. Wonderful faces of Guyana and the future, the children of Guyana. Put your hands together for these very beautiful children. Really, I don't have much to add. A lot has already been said about the census. We all know how important the census is. But the census is not the collection of data. If we believe that the census is the collection of data, then we are on a very, very wrong footing. The collection of data is just a part of the process of what the census is geared to achieve. The census is much larger than the collection of data. And if I will definitely give you some examples later of what I'm talking about. Dr. Ashni Singh spoke at length about the importance of the census as a tool for national development. The census is also an important tool for analytical work. I can tell you one of the great difficulties researchers find, especially those doing academic work, is the absence of data in the region. Quantitative data is very important in making qualitative analysis. For a matter of fact, the qualitative is directly linked to the quantitative. The nature of the census, I found a very interesting slide. I think our young lady in charge of the census was giving us a historical context of the census and the way the data was collected. That's a very important slide because the region as a whole is changing. And in that change environment, the data set must also reflect the changes that we're talking about. And I want to start from the future, not talking about this census, but the next census. As a region, we are faced with the greatest threat and vulnerability as a result of climate change. But how does the data collection in the region allows us to capture, in a quantitative way, the impact of natural disasters on the region, on countries, and then translate that in qualitative analysis? So we ask ourselves why we lost the cocoa industry in Trinidad, why we lost our nutmeg industry. What is the impact of the EU since the preferential treatment was removed? What is the impact when the banana industry felt the greatest impact from that one decision? So in the future, there are a few things in the region that are essential for us to gather information on. First, our land information system, our land management information system. Are we losing more land as a result of climate change? Are we losing more agricultural land? What's the impact of the urban shift on agricultural land that leads to food production and so on? Then land administration and development. How do we prioritize the use of land? What data set do we use to say this is the best use of this particular piece of land? This was subject matter for my thesis in my PhD, so you can understand I have a great interest and passion about this. Are we really making the best decisions on land use? And how do we gather the data that would give us the baseline data really to make these decisions? And climate vulnerability. What is the net effect of the natural disasters we have had across the region? What is the impact on population movement and shift? So our deputy SG here, I think that in the future, we need to identify the new priorities that the region faces. So when we speak to the international community, we are speaking from a position of strength because we have collected that data and it becomes part of our data-driven architecture. Now, why is that important? You see, it comes back to the question of the census. The census is a collection of data to make decisions that impact people's life. Basically, it is linking development with people. So the census gives us that quantitative platform through which we can link development with people. So to those who are working on this census, the staff, well, first of all, let me thank you for the exceptional work you're doing so far. The education program, the skit and everything is fantastic. But your work is so important to national development. It is so important for the future. It's so important to people that we must get it right. And I heard the charge from the Minister of Finance. And we have to learn also from our past and the challenges we have in the past. I'll give you a quick analysis. I was in a room with, I think Dr. Singh was in a room too, with a lot of people at the last census, and we did a survey in that room as to who the census came by. It was maybe about 30, 35 persons in the room. And there was a percentage, I would not say what the percentage was, that said the census does not visit. Now that is for a number of reasons. Maybe the census visited them, but they were not at home. But we have to build in this census a testing mechanism where we can gather people, go into the market, get 25 persons, and my friend who's in charge of this, I'm sure you're thinking about this already. When we are 25% in the census, or we finish a region, just let us go to core areas, get 25 or 30 persons together in a room and do a testing to see if we have a high response rate as to who we're counting. So that we build in some mechanism in the census itself that gives us the confidence in the data that we're collecting. This is one suggestion I would like to put to you. Now, decision-making is not an easy task, but decision-making is facilitated when we have a data-driven approach to decision-making. I can tell you that we're going to build a secondary school here. But if I tell you we're going to build a secondary school here because the distance for children to attend a secondary school is 50 miles apart, then I'm giving you something quantitative in nature to make a better decision. So you might say, well, okay, that if it is only a matter of distance, maybe we build a dorm at the next secondary school. But if you have another set of data that shows you that you have enough population in that community to build a secondary school, then you will say then the best decision is for a secondary school. So data-driven decision-making is important so that we arrive at the best decision in the interest of people. Because I want to capture all that I'm saying in one theme, linking development with people. That is what the census allows us to do. Another important issue is policy formulation. We cannot formulate policies in in a vacuum with the absence of data. So, Dr. Singh mentioned the whole approach of food security and pushing the 25 by 2025. That is why we push heavily that the census must reflect some data on this whole issue, because it's a big issue for us nationally, regionally, internationally. And we must have data to allow us the capacity to make decisions that are in the interest of promoting the objectives that we have on the food security. So policy formulation and having the best policies to support the development of people must be accompanied by a good data set, and that comes from the census. Now, why every 10 years? So there is what we call the immediate planning, medium-term planning, and long-term planning. So 10 years is regarded as that time of transition of medium to long term. It's just in the right balance, 10 years. So every 10 years, in order to have information that allows us to make timely and relevant decisions, we need to readjust it. Well, not we. Based on the facts on the ground, the data set might be adjusted or readjusted. Let me give you an example. Now I'll refer to some notes. I'll give you a few examples here now of what I mean. Using census data, we can say, for example, without any fear of contradiction, that between 2002 and 2012, the following occurred. 1. The housing stock increased by 31,813 units, which is 17% increase in that decade, in that 10 years. These new homes would have provided greater shelter and security for thousands of families. So immediately you were able to measure the impact of the housing program on people. What did the housing program achieve? How did it impact families and people? This also represents an increase in household wealth that can be leveraged to break the cycle of intergenerational poverty. Very important. As a result of this one data set, we now know that you have 31,813 families owning their own home that allows them to access resources from the bank, that increase their net value, their net family value, and net individual value. So from that one data set, we can see that this one policy is changing the lives of people and contributing to breaking the problem of intergenerational poverty. So that is one example. Let us go on to the same example. And as they were demonstrating the type of questions and how important those questions are. So let me tell you how important the question is to what we're doing today. Out of that one question, what else we found? 11,129 additional households would have had access to water from public wells. A 620% increase in that decade. So in that decade, 2002 to 2012, we had a 620% increase in the number of persons having access to water from a public well. What that tells us is that the impact of the investment in the water sector delivered tremendously in terms of persons having access. While an additional 13,947 households had access to water piped into their dwelling, an increase of 26%. So when one asks how important the census is, I'm just giving you from the last census, 2002 to 2012, the type of analysis that was available for policymakers, for decision makers to make decisions. I remember at the end of that census, there was a debrief at the Ministry of Housing. I was then the Minister of Housing, and we were able to convince the World Bank and the IDB on adjustment in their programs based on the data that came out of the census. It supported our policies, our direction in terms of housing and development from a quantitative perspective. So there was very little that our international partners could have done but to accept that the data that was available showed that the policies that needed to be pursued must be in keeping with that data. If you look at another example, households with access to electricity increased by 47,032 persons, or 37.5%. Now, our young ones here might say that, oh, why are we measuring electricity? This is just a fundamental right. But as they get older and they want to understand the development shift in their country, they can go back to this data. And they will see that between 2002 and 2012, 37.5% of our household had access to electricity. And then we can measure that against the investments. It's unfortunate in countries, developing countries, that lawmakers do not spend enough time using the stats to understand policy. For example, if you look at debates in the parliament, you will see it's devoid of analysis of these type of stats. The stats is available, and really you should use it. You should use it in developing policies and understanding policies and debating policies. The Minister of Finance would use these stats extensively in the national budget. But we lose the capability of these stats when we become sensational and we speak for a headline, or we speak, sometimes people think data is boring. But trust me, data is not boring. Data is exciting when you start using it for policy formulation. The most exciting thing that can be available to any policymaker is data. You have data, half the trouble done. 75% of the trouble finished. The absence of data, then is when it becomes tricky. So, now, we have announced some targets, 50,000 new house lots. We have announced 50,000 new jobs. We have the formal, the informal sector. So the census allows us to measure how well we're doing against those public targets that we have set ourselves. But as Guyana develops, our labor force will be tremendously impacted. What will be the impact on our labor force in the changing economic landscape, the changing sectors, the priority that is given to technology-driven industries? Now, so in forecasting our labor requirement and forecasting what the industries will need, there is a silent but important forecast that we miss, that we don't pay so much attention on, but is very, 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 very critical. Let me give you an example. If in the census, the data shows us that 70% of our graduates are coming out in a particular area, but the country requires persons with this skill set in a different area, how then do we ensure the policies create the incentive to create that shift in where the labor is focused or the education output is focused? Now, the census would not give us a labor market information system. But the census will give us a gateway through which we can formulate that labor market information system to meet our national development priorities. And this is what is important. So a lot of questions are asked. What will be our migration policy? What will be our national policy on meeting the labor requirement? What will be our immigration policy as a country? Well, guess what? This census is critical in allowing us the opportunity to formulate those policies based on data. For example, if the census tells us that maybe 12% of our population, or 12%, we have 12% immigrants or migrants from Venezuela in Guyana, and that tells us that, listen, we really need to be looking at a long-term strategy here. Because if you have the migrants at 12% of your population set, and we are supporting this for the last 2 years, and we project that the situation will not get better for the next 3 years or 4 years or 5 years, you're talking about 8 years. And if you look at human trend, when you are in a country for 8 years, then you can basically assume that these people might become permanent residents of your country. It's an assumption that can hold, an assumption that can't hold, but the data will allow us that information set that is important in the planning cycle. Social sector planning. The impact of our initiatives on the vulnerable group. Identifying new gaps in the society that may require specific allocation or specific intervention. I remember in the early days in state planning in 1997, CIMAP, when CIMAP was around, Ashton, you would know too, we had a poverty map that was developed by CIMAP. A poverty map that was developed, and that poverty map was used extensively in the budgetary process to addressing pockets of poverty. Today, we can change that word into gaps, development gaps. And the census gives us the tool to identify some of these important gaps that exist across communities, within communities, and across regions, so that we can have targeted intervention. The programmatic impact analysis, very important. The data from the census allows us to develop a very important programmatic impact analysis. How did the investment in education translate into the type of results we are having today? Or is it creating a new problem? Because if we have more children coming out with 8, 9 subject CXCs in a particular region that does not have the type of opportunities for them, then what is the new problem that will arise out of that? And how do we address it? So it's not only measuring the positive impact, but using that measurement to understand what future problems might be, what future circumstances might be, and then designing policies to address those issues. So the programmatic impact analysis is important. In that gap analysis, we have the social, the economic, the financial analysis that takes place. This allows us to develop policies that address the issues of disparity and inequalities. Now, you hear a lot of people talk at length about the Dutch disease. No, that is neither here or there. As I said some months ago, if you have resources, it's a curse. And if you don't have resources, it's a curse. So it's not resources, it's management of resources. So how do we ensure that this census gives us the data to address issues of inequality and disparity? the census would also allow us to draw that social implications of the closure of estates, for example, because it occurred outside of the last census. So it gives us an excellent platform to analyze a policy and to draw from a data perspective the impact. I'm saying these things to the population to understand how important your work is. I know you understand. And how important your work is to this country. It is not just someone coming with a sheet of paper and collecting data, and that is the end of it. This is really the future. I spoke about managing migration, defining priorities. You might very well see that as a result of this census and the changes that would have occurred over the years, that our priorities might need refocusing. But it is this data that allows us to understand what the real priorities are, what the changing priorities are. Better projection and forecasting, very important. Now, the census affects every single one, children, families. So, the census is important for family planning, career planning, and urban and regional planning. For example, if you look at the man hours we lose coming down the traffic in the morning, you multiply that by 3 persons in the vehicle, then you will see that sometimes, as a country, we lose a year of productive time every week just by waiting in the traffic. Sometimes we just say, oh, tired waiting in this traffic. But there's a bigger impact. If you're losing a year of productive work by just sitting in the traffic, then you understand how important the investment in infrastructure would be to convert that productive time into productive use. Family planning. It allows us to know where the urban shift and regional shift will be. It allows us to understand population centers, and I don't know why you're looking at me. Yeah. It allows us to know at what pace we need to increase our productive capacity on every front. I hope I addressed your issue. It also allows us to understand the gaps that exist. So, for example, when we look at the infrastructure outlay of the country, and we look at where the new urban and regional shift will be, where the real growth centers will be, and then we understand that the infrastructure will take us to a new city, the Silicon City, and we use the data from climate change and from our natural disasters, the data from the economic centers, and then we use the data as to what will occur if we have this new city. Then we can create a policy and type of incentive that push people into the new city based on the data that is collected. So, for example, we might say that those who go in the new city for the first 10 years, this is just an example. Members of the media, this is just an example. You know, I like to think aloud when I speak. You may say, and I'm just trying to explain how policies are formulated. You may say that, okay, in order to go to the new city, the infrastructure will not be ready to give you that easy access in terms of transportation. You may say that you have an allowance of $50,000 as a tax break or a tax write-off as a transportation allowance for those first comers to the new city for the first 10 years. Now, that becomes very attractive because, one, you're going in a higher area, a new development center, and there is an incentive. That is what policymakers now, that is how policymakers now will use the data. Because the census would see what I'm already seeing, that really, we always speak as if we have unlimited land. But because of how the population is structured along the coast, we are exhausting all the lands we have already. We are already in the wetlands. We have maximized the limits of where we can go. And then we still have to ensure agriculture is taken care of, food production. So this census gives us data in all these, to make all these very important decisions as we move forward. Our transport system and infrastructure, I spoke about that. The census allows us to build a system and build a country that ensures efficiency, reliability, and effectiveness in policy making. Very important. The data allows us, whether it's health, education, whether it's social service, it helps us. It helps us to understand income patterns, livelihood patterns. It helps us to understand our citizens and their circumstances and their conditions. So I'm very pleased to be here today to be part of this very important launch and to say to Guyana and to say to the team that is executing this census that your work is not only important, it is critical for policymakers and for us all to ensure we build our future on the right platform based on data that is collected in a timely, reliable, efficient way. So I wish you well, and I would say to you that your work today must be seen as part of the unfolding of Guyana's future. Thank you very much for your service. Guyana, Guyanese, please ensure every one of us participate in this census. I know it's already late in the census, but a very important piece of information for us too is from the diaspora. And at some point, we will have to figure out a way in which we collect diaspora data. And because I would like to analyze the diaspora and to see what will be the driving force for them in returning in more rapid numbers, and how we create the policy environment to facilitate this. Thank you very much. God bless all of you.
Thank you very much, Excellency, for speaking with such clarity to the Bureau of Statistics staff responsible for the census, for speaking with such clarity to the country as a whole about the importance of Census 2022 and the census as a tool in general, for giving what I believe is an outstanding lecture on the role of data in decision-making and policy formulation. You're only halfway through your first emphasis on first term when another young president, Barrett Jagdeo, was nearing the end of his terms in office. The BBC asked him what he was going to do after being so young. He said, you know, maybe I'll go into farming. I'm not sure if he applied for the land or if he got it, and I rather doubt that he's farming. But I only raise this because I sat there thinking that maybe after you've fulfilled your terms of office, there's a place for you in the university campus for being able to lecture to students with the same kind of clarity with which you spoke today, reducing very complex issues to the understanding of the common man. Thank you very, very much. If you look at your program, you can deduce that the people who put it together work for me. And how you deduce that is because they gave me remarks twice. Somebody doesn't want to get fired. I have no remarks to make, except that I want to draw your attention to two things. The first one is that we have some sample products on display around the room, which I'd like to invite the president and the ministers to take a look at, and then everyone else after when we're done. You would notice that these products are appearing in some strange words, a lot of them you see around the room. This campaign is being delivered in multiple languages, including Spanish, Brazilian Portuguese, Haitian Creole, Chinese, and I believe in some of the indigenous languages. There's actually 2 examples in the room of posters presented in Carib. If your Carib is good, you could stop and take a look at those. The other thing I'd like to mention before we get to the vote of thanks is that some of the field work in this public awareness and public education got started over the weekend, and we're going to be showing on the screens during the closing stages. While you're taking a look, we'll be showing some of those pictures. You don't have to sit and look at them. I'm just telling you that they'll be there, and you could take a look at some of the activities have been taking place in the Escobar Islands and on the Escobar coast and in some parts of West Demerara over last weekend. So those would be visible as well when we get to the end. If you have any questions about the multi-language posters, I think we have Charlene Wilkinson in the room there waving, and her team at the university is helping us through some of the language translation, so she might be able to help you read some of those things. Finally, I want to invite Zaya Bacchus to present our vote of thanks. She is also a young lady from the ECHOS community. In her age group, she's a social media influencer. Based on what age group you're in, you might not know what a social media influencer is, but if you do know, she is a social media influencer in her age group, and she was standing by as well to speak to us in ECHOS, and I'd like to ask you to welcome her as she delivers the vote of thanks today.
With protocols having been established, good afternoon all. I feel greatly honored as I am indeed humbled to say a few words of gratitude at today's launch of the Guyana National Population and Housing Census 2022 Public Education and Information Campaign. I'm particularly grateful to His Excellency Dr. Mohammed Irfaan Ali, President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, for delivering the keynote address with such exuberance. Thank you for your visionary leadership and the census approach to governance and national development. Special thanks to our dynamic and extremely knowledgeable Finance Minister, Honorable Dr. Ashni Singh, for your timely and well-informed presentation. We are now empowered to fully participate in Census 2022. I'm also honored to acknowledge the contribution made by our Deputy Secretary General of CARICOM, Dr. Armstrong Alexis. We are indeed grateful for your presence today and for your impressive remarks. We cannot fail to appreciate the presence of the Bureau of Statistics and the representatives, including Mr. Arul Lacruz, Ms. Vanessa Prophet, and members of the Bureau Board and Secretariat at this unique event and for their enlightening presentations. Indeed, as young people, we count and we, and I would be counted. My profound gratitude also goes out to the performers of the cultural items on the program today, especially the children who performed the poem, as they all are from the EE Echoes community. I wish to salute our distinguished audiences who have traveled both far and near to be here today. Thank you for your kind support and presence, and we so look forward to your continued support in developing our communities and country. For an event of this magnitude, we might have inadvertently missed out some names. It is not intended to diminish or overlook your useful contributions, which we appreciate immensely, all who have contributed to the success of today's launch. In conclusion, I express our sincere thanks to the Guyanese press for their immense support and continued coverage of the census, bringing the information to the people of Guyana. We are indeed grateful to you all, and thank you once again.
Thank you very much. The future is like, okay. Okay, we've come to the end. Just one last thing. If you look at any of our materials and you see the we counting we and this strange arrow at the bottom of it, I just thought I should mention that. For those persons who are impaired, who are hearing or orally impaired, who use sign language, they actually use two fingers from their dominant shoulder over to the other shoulder to say we. And we wanted to demonstrate that we weren't leaving out people who might have those disabilities from communication. So if you see people doing this, then you know that's connected to the whole inclusivity in these communication efforts. Thank you very, very much. I'd like to ask everyone to allow the President and the ministers to take a look at the materials. I want to ask the President to please meet these dear children. I don't have to ask you that. Oh, I just wanted to say something. Could you take a picture with them? Could we get them to